My dear friends, I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I want to share with you uh, some of the things that I know, some of the things that I have seen. And those of you that know me, you know that this is my quest, this is my duty, this is my obsession to to get information that I think is very important for you to take care of yourself. I'm a doctor that's absolutely convinced that if you don't help me, if you don't do anything, if you just let yourself do whatever I want, I'm not going to be as successful as if we become a team. This is something that I have known all my medical life. I have over 50 years as a doctor, and believe me, I have seen a lot of things, and I have learned a few things that tell me that it is absolutely important that you know better and that you pitch in and that you help me to get you both healthy and return to health if any illness comes your way. So, say that I'm always talking about this, and I do it through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network. And you can listen to this broadcast every Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have a repeat every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, a.m. But in today's environment, you don't even have to say, oh, my goodness, it's time to listen to Dr. Rodriguez, or it's time to see what he has to say, or I'm interested of sharing some of the information with a friend, etc. Because you call somebody and you say, hey, the program is going to be at 7:30 p.m., and your friend might say, oh, I'm sorry, I have already something to do. Well, those days are long gone. I'm not sure that it's for the better, but nevertheless, they're long gone. Right now, what we do, and didn't exist in our time, but today we can go to Spotify and search Truth Be Told Radio Network and listen again, not only to this broadcast, but to any other that I have done in the past. And we have over 100 hours of programming. And we talk a lot of things that are related to your health, to your what if you get ill, a lot of things that I think, I really feel they're very important, because the more you know, the more control, the more say-so you have in your healthcare, the better off you're going to be. And all I'm saying is that, I have a very good friend that he always fought with the idea that every time you buy something, you buy a car, you buy a washing machine, you buy a new TV, whatever you buy, you will always get a book that tells you how to unpack, how to plug, how to program, how to run, and troubleshooting. What if it doesn't dry the dishes? What if the engine doesn't work very quietly? What if there is a leak of anything? So you have a fair idea of what to do in case of any smaller problem. And then on top of that, they give you an 800 number, or today, they give you a site, an internet place where you can go and search for answers to the problem. So you have so many things, so much information in how to run whatever you have, that's sometimes it's even overwhelming. But what about ourselves? Nobody told us how to take care of ourselves. There used to be a comic in Argentina, very famous, of a small girl that was always complaining about the way the world is. And she always wondered why children are put in the hands of people that have never been a parent. She says they don't have any experience. Why do they trust us to them? And it's the same here. Why do we trust your health to yourself? Well, let me tell you something. You have a lot to bring to the table. Really a lot. All you need is knowledge. You need some education. You need some understanding in what and how and when you can act on your behalf. And that's what we are talking about. And I could tell you a lot of things. I could tell you when you go to the doctor, actually, your doctor is going to tell you a lot of things. He's going to do tests, and he's going to order x-rays, and then he's going to give you a prescription. You go to the pharmacy and you take it, etc. All that is fine. But it could be so much better, so much faster, so much less expensive, so much shorter, so much less suffering if you help us than if you don't. Because if I tell you you have this problem and so on, and then I tell you, we have to do this sort of a food program, we're going to do a diet, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, you're going to have bed rest, you're going to take care of these areas, and you understand what and why, you're going to help a lot. And again, your healthcare is going to be easier and cheaper. And not only that, but your recovery is going to be faster, more effective, and longer lasting. Because how many times we have a common situation, let's say any common flu, and people, instead of going home and drinking a lot of water and chicken soup and a cup of tea, they choose to take a pill and go to the movies or go to a wedding or go to a party or anything like that and drink and smoke, etc. And then this simple flu is going to last for very long, if not get complicated into something more expensive and more demanding, something that could send you to a hospital, like in the case of a pneumonia. So if we understand that we have a responsibility in how we take care of ourselves, then we got it made. And that's what we want to talk about. Right now, we have gone through a period of COVID-19. And the problem with COVID-19 is that we didn't see it coming. We didn't have any previous experience. And I can tell you as a doctor that when the whole thing started, we all kind of panicked because we didn't know exactly what was happening. This is a virus like no other. This is not a common flu. This is not a common respiratory infection problem. This is something different. And this different virus, this different disease gave us a different clinical picture and gave us complications and problems as we never saw before. People couldn't breathe, people would have to go to a hospital, people would go to intensive care unit, respirators would help but not solve the problem. So the problem was not necessarily in how we breathe or how we don't breathe. There was something else in there, and a lot of people died. After 2 years, we can say that we are, give or take, around 100 million cases, and we have about 1 million deaths. And not only that, but we have had a huge expense. We have lost people that we loved. We have, many of us stopped working altogether. And then we had a confinement. And I don't have to tell you, because this is a worldwide phenomena. And we all, one way or another, suffer from it. And then everything starts to clear. We start to notice that less people go to the emergency room, that less people have deadly complications, less people die, which is important. And those numbers, of course, create a feeling of this is getting over. It's not over. That's important to say. But the complications, the severity of the disease has gone down because we have vaccines, because we have different care, because we have a different understanding. For whatever reason, it seems that humans as a group are beginning to get over the thing and go back to what we now call the new normality. So all that is important, all that is good, all that tells us that, well, we're going to finally get through it. It's similar to what happened 100 years ago with the Spanish flu epidemics. That also lasted 2 years. There are a lot of coincidences. A lot of people died, a lot of people suffered. But finally, after 2 years, things started to clear and the problems started to go away. That's what we're living today. And hopefully, I hope I'm absolutely right, we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that would be absolutely fantastic that you and I can go back to the life we had, to sharing things with our friends, to hug and kiss our family members, our kids, our mothers. We couldn't even kiss our mother, remember? So a lot of things hopefully are going to go back. And when we see all this improvement, when we see this light at the end of the tunnel, when we see that we're finally getting over with a terrible 2-year problem, then I know that, yeah, this is getting over, but I'm not better. I don't feel good. My spouse, my friend, my teacher, they're not the person they used to be. They are stumbling, having equilibrium problems. They have constant headaches. They lost the smell. Audition is very bad. Dizziness is persistent. And a lot of things are happening. Something weird. A lot of weird things. And I say weird because they do not seem to have a clinical picture. They don't seem to have a good structure like in most diagnoses we used to have. We say, well, this is a pneumonia because of this, of this. No, here we have neurological symptoms that are very strange. And 30%, 1/3 of everyone that has had COVID is suffering from it. And that's what we now call long haul COVID. And I'm going to talk about it. I want you to listen and I want you to be with me. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and you can look for me in the social platform of your choice. You are listening through Truth Be Told Radio Network, but I'd like you to go to the social media that you love and look for me. Search Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, search for BioCare Hospital, because my quest is to talk about you and your health and your well-being. And I have said repeatedly that in medicine, if you do not pitch in, if you don't help me to be healthy and to recover health, it's going to be a lot harder than if you get the information, the education that you need to be part of your healthcare team. Actually, you should be the chairman. You should be the CEO of your healthcare team. Your doctor is a very important advisor, but you're the one that finally or at the end should say, okay, yes, we can do this, doctor. You help me with this, I'll help with that. You are the one that has the total control of the 24 hours of the day, and you can say, I'm going to begin taking care of how many hours I sleep, how many hours I exercise, how many hours I rest, how many hours, what I bring to my table, what I eat, what I do, what I drink, etc. So if you are in full control of those things, the life for your doctor is going to be a lot easier, because I'm not trusting only on medication. I'm not trusting only on drugs. I have many more things to do for you, because I know they're going to go a longer way. They're going to be more successful, and my results are going to be longer lasting. Because remember, if we have an illness and we treat the illness and we get better, what do we normally do? Wow, now I can have fun again. I can drink, I can smoke. No, that's not the way. What I have to say is, okay, thank God I have gotten my health back. What should I do now? Be obedient, because I want this health to last for as long as possible. Because I want to be active, I want to be productive, because after all, I am the most important asset in my life. There's nothing more important than you for you. If you take care of your body, if you take care of your health, that's going to be a huge investment. Nothing can give you the return that you can get on a healthy person, on a healthy performance, on a healthy you, in one word. So, examine all that, and something very important, if you please follow me in the social media of your choice, also follow me and share the information, because I feel that this is important information that we should pass one to another. Uh, I have a very good friend, Pastor Williams, who always tells me, at the end of my life, I think the most important job I have is to share what I know with others. And that's what I'm doing. I have over 50 years as a doctor, over 50 years of medical experience that have taught me that without your help, my work is going to be only halfway. I will never be able to achieve what I want to achieve in your health unless you help me. So keep that in mind and follow me. Follow me. We can be good friends. By the way, if you follow me, feel free to ask any question. Honest to God, I will give you my best possible answer. And also, I will answer you within 24 hours. So you can email me, you can send Twitter, whatever you choose, Facebook, and I'll be very happy to get back to you, because I want to create a group of people that are working for themselves. That's what we have to do. Well, one of the things that I do is review medical literature. I'm a doctor. I go to the hospital every day. I still go to the hospital every day. I see patients, so I'm what you could say a real doctor. And I'm an MD by formation, and not only do that work, not only see my patients, not only do all this, but I'm in constant search in the medical literature for what's been happening, what are the news, where is us, etc. And this recent pandemic, we were talking about all the problems that people have to live with. And the pandemic in itself was terrible. At the beginning, we didn't know. It was like, you don't know what hit you. That was the perfect expression. We didn't know what hit us, because all of a sudden we started seeing symptoms and problems we never saw before, that we didn't really know how to solve. I have a group of doctors, friend doctors, that got COVID in the beginning, and you know what they did? They got themselves in a hospital in one room, and they were with their computers searching every day to see what they were going to do to save their lives. That's how dire the situation was. It was really really difficult because we didn't understand very well. One thing we knew from the beginning, and that we also saw in the Spanish flu 100 years ago. We could see that some people got the disease and did very bad, but we saw people that either did not get the disease or when they got it, they just kind of glided through it. So that happens in every epidemic. There are people that suffer a lot, are people that succumb to the epidemic, but there are people that do very well. They get sick, but not very sick, get through it, and they end up being the caretakers of those that are suffering the most. And that we saw from the beginning. We saw groups of people that were doing very badly and people that were doing very well. And you say, what is the difference? So they started looking at things. And in Europe, particularly in Italy, where they had huge amount of people and deaths in a very short time, they were making post-mortem and all sorts of studies, and they soon discovered that one of the keys could be that the people that were doing better had bodies that were much better prepared to face the disease and be resilient to all the effects of the disease. And one of the key elements that they found was vitamin D, D as in David. And this vitamin D was probably one of the factors that was making a difference. And then, of course, that immediately put the spotlight on vitamin D. What does vitamin D does? Well, it turns out that vitamin D is not really a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. When you see the chemical formula on the blackboard, as chemists do, you're going to see that's very similar to hormones. And the other thing that really should discard it as a vitamin is that a vitamin is an essential nutrient. What is an essential nutrient? Something that we get from the outside because our bodies cannot produce it. A good example is vitamin C. If we didn't take any vitamin C at all, we're going to succumb. We're going to get scurvy and finally die. And that's what happened in the transatlantic trips of the Spanish and Portuguese and British explorers to the New World, because sailors were on the boat and didn't have any access to vitamin C. And they died of scurvy until somebody found that if they took lemons and oranges on the boat, that would solve the problem. That's what a vitamin is. At vitamin D, if you don't take any, if we didn't take any, we're going to do it. Our body can do it. And actually, I'm sure everybody knows, that vitamin D is produced under the skin because of the influence of the ultraviolet rays of the sun. So all we have to do is eat those things that are going to be turned into vitamin D. Which are them? Green leafy vegetables. But we can also get it from internal organs of animals. If we eat kidneys, if we eat liver, if we eat some of those things, we're getting very good amount of vitamin D, particularly liver. And in many parts of the world, liver is a staple food because it's inexpensive, it's easy to cook and everything. In our world, it's not very popular, unless you're having, of course, foie gras, which is, you go to the other extreme. It's not a staple because it's an expensive food. But nevertheless, vitamin D is going to be mainly in the green leafy vegetables, not as vitamin D, but as what we call precursors. We take that precursor and the sunlight, this is the hand of God, will turn those products into vitamin D. Or we can have liver and or fish, good quality fish, and we're taking vitamin D. Also dairy products. Okay, but remember, dairy products have to come from a grazing animal. Cows should not eat grains, they should be grazing. Okay? That's important to know because it makes a difference. So when you buy milk, when you buy lactic products, you have to make sure you're getting it from grass fed animals. That makes a lot of difference. So that said, those people that had the better levels of vitamin D were the people that were able to withstand, to block their disease. And once they went through it, they were a lot more resilient. And that, of course, started focusing the thing. What vitamin D does? This is very important and very important in COVID. Vitamin D is a very powerful anti inflammatory. And COVID is a disease all about inflammation. And if you stay with me, we're going to talk about it. Because vitamin D is a very powerful anti inflammatory, was able to block the ravages of COVID. We didn't know it. But when we saw people that were dying and people that were doing better, then we could see the difference. People with good levels of vitamin D were doing much better than people that were very low in vitamin D. That alone gives you a very important message, something that we should remember. I have to keep my body as free of inflammation as possible. And one of the keys is with vitamin D, with direct sunlight, with green leafy vegetables, with fish, with liver products, with good quality milk products, dairy products. So all that is going to bring you back to what I have always said. If we don't choose well when you eat, you might be losing big. You're going to be losing big plans. I'll be here with you. My friends, I'm very happy, I'm very excited because I think we have a very powerful message today. And I hope that you are with me, that you're listening to this program, and that you share it. Please share it because this is like the work of gospel. You have to share the word. Good words should always be shared, and what you know should be shared with the rest of us. And the same way, everybody should be sharing what they know, because we, the humans, our human mind has so much value in experience, in everything that we can share, that we can enrich the life of somebody else. I have always thought that retirement, as we have it in today's world, should is not very smart. You get a doctor, you get an engineer, you get an attorney that has 40, 50 years experience, who knows beautiful things, with just one glance can tell you, you know what, the problem here is this, and this is the way you solve it, and you take that person and you send him home overnight. I have always thought that we should retire gradually. As we age, we should have less hours, less pressure, but we should continue to go to a hospital, to an office, to a factory, because how many times an engineer takes a look at something and he says, that's not working. You should do this. Just out of experience. So that's very important. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to have a lot more experience in healthcare, in self-care, in BioCare than the rest of us. Because if you do, you're going to be able to handle your body as what it is, a wonderful God gift that you have to take care of. Your body was given to be cared for, was not given to drink and have fun and have comfort food. I don't even know where that term comes from. But to me it's absurd. Okay, how can how can this food that's not even a food can be comfort or comforting? See, that's how loosely we think of the important things in life. And we have to go back to our roots. We have to go back to our teachings. You see, and every time I read Genesis in the Bible, you can see that God told us, and I give you these plants, and I give you these trees, and I give you these animals, and everything that's in the ocean, etc., for your nourishment. But then we take those foods and turn it into something really evil. And the truth of that, or the proof of that, is that we are seeing more and more chronic inflammatory degenerative diseases. We're looking at people that are ill prepared immunologically, people that have a lot of inflammation, etc., just because our lifestyles, because we forgot the teachings. So we go for something that's fast, cheap. We don't want any effort. We go to any place to eat to fill up, not to be fed. We fill up our children. I see many people feed their children, and I think they could take them to a gas station, open the kid's mouth, put a hose, and fill the tank. They don't care about the quality of the food they're putting in their kids. I have seen 2, 3 year old drinking soda pop. That's not for children. Particularly at 2 years of age, you're giving them soda pop with high fructose syrup or loads of sugar or uh, brain stimulants. And then we complain because they're restless. Well, they're giving the wrong substances. So that's what I'm talking about. And we saw it very distinctly during the COVID epidemic. We saw it very clearly. I was telling you, people were dying on this hand, and on the other, people were surviving and bouncing back. What was the difference? These people had good levels of vitamin D. These people had good levels of potassium. These people had good levels of magnesium. These people had very good vascular condition, heart and blood vessels, and everything was clear and function and blood flowed. Remember that life is in the blood. So if we're eating garbage and we're being very sedentary and we don't take care of ourselves and we drink and smoke, etc., we're damaging the blood vessels. And the more we damage them, this is like a corroded tube at home, or excuse me, not tube, but pipes, a pipeline that's completely corroded. You open the faucet, you're going to clean the dishes, and you have something dripping. And there's no problem with water supply. The problem is that all your pipes are not working properly. And the same happens with the blood vessels. So when we started looking at people that did well, and we started realizing that the people that did better is because they were better taken care of. They had real good BioCare. For the first time as a doctor, in my 50 years as a doctor, I could see an overwhelming support of everything that I have loved in my medical career. I could see great support to everything I have believed in, everything that I have talked about and taught. I could see that, yes, self-care can pay in a big way. So those people that did what they should have done, those people that were obedient, those people that were fed on what God provided us, those people that took care of their bodies and didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't bring any toxins into their lives. People that had the normal life of work and rest and physical activity, etc., they could withstand the ravages of a terrible disease. And that pushed me even further to try to talk to you, to try to indoctrinate you, to try to make you a believer of all the things that I'm talking about. So, one of the things that has happened in COVID is that the COVID starts to go away. We start to hopefully say it's history, but at the same time, we are beginning to see about 30%, one third of every case of COVID having long lasting symptoms, what now we call long haul COVID. What is that? Well, one of the things that right at this time, I think everybody talks about it. I'm not saying anything strange. You know that once you had this disease, a lot of people complain of what? Weakness, fatigue, uh, brain fog, uh, sleeplessness, dizziness, tinnitus, lack of smell, vision problem. What am I talking about? I'm talking about central nervous system problems. Everything is related to the nerves or to the brain, and some of it to the muscles. That's the area of the body that's suffering. And why is that happening? Because a lot of people, if they smoked, if they're diabetic, you know, diabetics did very bad. If they have high blood pressure, they did very bad. If you have any sort of vascular heart compromise, could not deliver enough oxygen to the brain or to the areas of the brain that demanded an extra effort. Every time you do something, every time you move a muscle, every time you get an idea, every time you dream, every time you're thinking or writing, your brain works on two things: oxygen and glucose, which is a simple carbohydrate that the body makes. So you don't have to take a soda pop. The body makes it, okay, out of the foods that you eat. So once the body gets all these things, it delivers them to the brain, and now the brain can pull oxygen, pull glucose, and do what it has to do. But what happens if my vascular tree is under inflammation, is clogged because of the bad fats I have eaten, because of the huge amounts of sugar I have eaten? So let's say it's clogged, it's not, it's impaired in some way. So blood flow, microcirculation, because we're talking of tiny little blood vessels, if they have a problem, every time the brain demands oxygen and glucose, the brain stumps. It cannot do what you want him to do. It's like if you have an old car with a lot of problems in the fuel supply, and then you're on uphill and you press on the gas and the engine starts to poop, 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 and stops. Why is that? Because you demanded a higher effort than what the fuel you're providing was able to give. So that's what happens to post-COVID patients. When you demand an extra effort from your brain, when you want to do something, when you want to think of something important, when you want to get up and walk, etc., you lose your equilibrium. You have mental fogginess. You forgot what you did. You have headaches. Those are 30% of everyone that has had COVID. I mean, 3 in every 10 cases are going to suffer from this long haul COVID. And all of them are neurological symptoms. Why? Because their blood vessels were not in good shape to begin with, and make it worse because it has affected the lung. So the use of oxygen is impaired. And add to that the stress. When we're under stress, we diminish the diameter of the blood vessels. So the access to blood, to oxygen, to glucose gets also affected. There you have it. That's why I like to talk to you. Because I never mentioned this before because we didn't know it. Now we have more information. And it makes a lot of sense. It tells you what we have to do. Now I'm going to take in the next segment about BioCare. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I have really had a lot of fun, a lot of happiness in being able to communicate with you and talk about very important situations that have developed through the uh, pandemic that we have suffered for the now 2 years. And I think it's very important information because even though numbers seem to show an improvement in many areas, we're seeing people that are suffering from it, but with a lot less severity. Admissions to hospitals have been a lot lower, and deaths, that's the most important thing, have also been diminished. So it tells us that somehow mankind is beginning to survive this infection, not only to survive, but to be more resilient. We can block it better. And that has happened before. It's kind of a copy of what happened 100 years ago in the Spanish flu. They suffer from it for about the same time, about 2 years, and finally, without really any big medical achievement, the body, I mean, God made us conquer that epidemic. And that's what's happening today. And we're talking about the new normality and so forth. But we have been saying that about 1/3 of the cases having suffering of what's called long haul COVID. And that long haul COVID is directly connected to two important systems. One is the brain, the central nervous system, the other are the muscles, the muscle system. And they're very much connected because if you think of the two things are directly connected to transmission of electric signals. I know it's not electricity, it's a neurological, molecular message that's sent through wire-like things, which are the neurons, to activate an organ like the muscle that's also very dependent on interexchange of ions or minerals and to produce the movement. So a lot of things go wrong when our brains don't work better, don't work well. And a lot of those things, of course, produce blurred vision, very poor equilibrium, dizziness, headaches, loss of smell, loss of audition. So there are many things that are happening in our world when these things don't work well. And the muscles produce fatigue, which is a very, very common symptom. And they are a big contributor to the lack of equilibrium. So I have, from the beginning, I'm telling you about a year ago, we could begin to see people that had gotten the COVID, had gone out of it, but they were not quite themselves. And that's probably a very good expression. People tell you, doctor, I'm not the same person I used to be. There are a lot of things that I used to do. I cannot do them now. There are a lot of problems. I have to remember things. I don't have the disease anymore, but still I cannot smell. I cannot hear very well. Or worse, I'm dizzy. I try to walk and I stumble. So wherever I want to go, it gives me a problem. So, and I have a very short-lived battery. That's something that a lot of people said. They say, I get up in the morning, they feel more or less, but then at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, even before lunch, I don't have any energy left. I'm short of breath, I'm tired, I cannot do a lot of things. And day in, day out, for these 2 years, we have been looking for what has happened. We have been putting together our understanding of the biology of the human body, of the interaction of this infection with the biology of the human body, and with the residual effects of COVID. Because once the infection is gone, it's gone. You don't have any virus. You can test it anyway. The virus is gone. So why do I feel the way I feel? Because I have gone through a disease that has been characterized by terrible, terrible systemic, universal inflammation. There are very few things that I can think of that produce such a universal inflammation as COVID. You get inflammation everywhere. I think only your eyelashes are spared. But your central nervous system, your muscles, your bones, your bladder, your kidneys, your liver, your lungs, of course, your heart, your blood vessels, everything has been affected by inflammation. And that brings a consequence very simple. If all the blood vessels are inflamed, blood doesn't flow. And if blood doesn't flow, and life is in the blood, I'm beginning to lose the organs and the functions. So we started saying, what am I going to do? Because you come to me, you're telling me your problem, I'm your doctor. What am I going to say? I don't know. There's nothing I can do. No, I have to search. I have to find out. I have to put the ideas. I have 50 years experience as a doctor. I have to put everything together and think, I think I know what's going to help you. And we put that in action. We started our post-COVID, we used to call it, now we call it long-haul COVID program to help you. And we were very happy because we started to have smile in return. To me as a doctor, that makes the whole world of difference. If I treat you and you come back and you smile broad, that's much better than you telling me I feel great. I'm doing well. That's better than a lab test. When you come to me and then you open the door and say, Dr. Rodriguez, how are you? And you can see that broad, big smile, you know you're doing it well. I always tell people, there's nothing I can appreciate better than your smile. Because that tells me that we're doing our job. That makes my day. So what we did is, with everything we know, we have to fight infection. We have to fight complications. We have to improve the immune system. All those things are important. But I have to fight, most of all, inflammation. And my beginning is going to be the vitamin D. And you know what? If you test vitamin D, which you can ask your doctor next time you go to the doctor, Doctor, what is my vitamin D level? It's a simple blood test. It's inexpensive. Anyone can do it. So you can say what it is. Let's say you go from 0 to 100. You want to be above 40. And you know what? Most people are under 30. we're very low on vitamin D. And we can talk one day, because I could talk for an hour or for 3 hours about vitamin D, but we're low. So we start supplementing, and with supplementing big, we want to bring the levels of vitamin D to a good level. We start using oxygen, because I already explained you why oxygen is so important. We have at BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center, we have hyperbaric oxygen. And we have other forms of oxidative therapy, like ultraviolet radiation of the blood, ozone therapy, and all those things are going to be put together. And we're going to put glucose in the bloodstream, and we're going to put all the important minerals that we have talked about, the potassium, the magnesium, see, chromium. They're going to be very important things that we're going to put intravenously. I'm not going to wait for the pill to go in your body and be absorbed. I'm going to do it right away. Today, I'm going to put that solution, that intravenous solution, and today, when you go to sleep, those minerals already working in your body. I have many people that tell me, Doctor, you know what? I came to BioCare, and in 24 hours, I achieved what at home took me weeks. Why? Because you come here and this is a 24/7 operation. I know your time is important. So I don't want you to be working and waiting for 3 months, 4 months before you get better. But I want you to come to the hospital. I'm not going to give you a prescription and go home. No, I'm going to control your food, what you do, what everything around you. And I'm going to use intravenous procedures. And I'm going to use hyperbaric oxygen. I'm going to all do these things because I want you to improve in days. And that you will see. And furthermore, a lot of studies show now that there are two things that can be very, very helpful. One is stem cell therapy, and the other is platelet-rich plasma. And we can do both. Not only we do both, but we do it from your own blood. So you don't have to be concerned about whose blood am I going to be using. You don't have to be concerned about blood-borne diseases or anything like that. We're going to take your own blood. We're going to separate your stem cells. We're going to nourish them. We're going to incubate them for about 2-3 hours and feed them. And then we're going to put them back in your body. Same as platelets, in the form of platelet-rich plasma. And you know what? I don't have to tell you. I can give you the phone number. I can show you the testimonials of people that have done it, that were absolutely happy they did it. Once you choose to BioCare, everything is going to be possible. You're going to see how you improve in a short period of time. You don't have to wait for time. You're going to get all your drips with oxygen flowing into your system. And all that really makes a big difference. So give us a call. Check us out on the internet. See testimonials of other people that have chose BioCare. And I'm going to be very happy to provide answers and information for you that can bring back your life together. See you next time.